Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back again to Cannon Fodder TV. Going by what I hear from the show, the late show we did yesterday, an hour and 40 minutes, probably one of the longest shows I've done for a long time. I think a lot of people tend to like a little bit of controversy and Arsenal and controversy. And actually, I thought it was a good show. However, we've got James. James is back in the Cannon Fodder TV village. James, how are you?
Very well. Happy New Year to you and Happy New Year to all the viewers. I hope everybody had a lovely time during the festive period and spent time with their family and had fun. And I was invited on today to talk about a few points that maybe won't get much airtime. But people know that, I've been on Cannon Fodder about 5 years now. And coincidentally, I was watching last night the video we did ahead of the Rennes game. We both look so young. And it was only 4 years ago. So I think Arsenal has a lot to answer for. It was only 4 years ago in 2019 when upon returning to London for the home leg, because we lost the first game 3-1 in Brittany. And we both look so young. And I think Arsenal has really aged us. I really do.
James, thanks for that. But anyway, James, I wanted us to look at the Premier League table as it stands. Liverpool top, Aston Villa with Unai Emery second, Man City third, Pep Guardiola, and Arsenal missed out and starting the new year on top of the table, tied with Man City on 40 points. But Man City have a game in hand.
Yes, they do.
Can you give me any thoughts, James, on?
Well, first and foremost, congratulations to Fulham. All of the doom mongers need to remember Fulham played brilliantly, and I thought Bobby Cordova-Reid, that's a great finish. It's a really, really good finish. And João Paulinho, we've spoken about him before. The mental fortitude you must have to be in Munich, getting ready to sign for one of the great European superpowers, only to be told that it's not happening. To have the mental fortitude to return to Fulham and be as professional and arguably play better than what you did before you had your medical at Bayern Munich, I think that's testament to João Paulinho. I've rated him ever since his time at Sporting, so I've known about him for a while. I hope he gets a great move. Fulham have a great history of giving great players a springboard. Edwin van der Sar, João Paulinho, Steve Marley. I remember watching Fulham at Highbury under the guise of Jean Tigana. They played some amazing stuff. And the more I think about that, Arsenal won that game 2-1, and we really struggled. And Fulham had the likes of Steve Marley, had the likes of... I'm trying to remember if Van der Sar was there at the time. I'm not sure. I'd have to check the programme again. Yeah. But this was February 2003. And, for Fulham to be managed by Jean Tigana, that's like Simeone rocking up at Nottingham Forest. But because it's such a long time ago, people forget about it. And Mohamed El Fayed, obviously he's passed on, but what a great owner he was. What an affable owner. People looked at him and, he did right by Fulham. He really did right by Fulham. And for all the doom mongers of Arsenal, first and foremost, you have to hold your hands up and admit when the opponent played better. And Fulham fully deserved their win.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you surprised as to how the table looks after 20 games, James?
No, I'm not. I'm not, because it's a marathon, not a sprint. If you think of the media coverage, Alex, it's like people want to watch an episode of EastEnders. They want it all condensed into half an hour. Oh, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. Games. 30 games, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. And it's full of surprises, absolutely full of surprises. So I just think to myself, it's a long old road. I will say what I said before, and that is as regards to Mikel Arteta. No trophy, no job. I think that's fair. No trophy, no job. So he's got 3 chances to keep his job. Pressure's on Sunday, because if he loses on Sunday, that means that you've got to win something that Arsenal haven't won for 2 decades, or you've got to win something Arsenal have never won in order to keep your job. I spoke to an Arsenal friend of mine who works as a steward at the Emirates, and we were talking about Mikel Arteta last Sunday. And I said that, but I've been consistent the entire season long. No trophy, no job. I've been completely consistent with that. And he was saying, oh, maybe a 5th year. And my response was, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? As I believe, I'm trying to think which professional footballer told me. I think it was Dave Kitson. I spoke to Dave Kitson about his time at Reading and also Stoke and Portsmouth, and he was extremely professional. And he said a quote that really stuck with me when I interviewed him for World Football Index, I believe I think it was 2019, I think it was. And 2019. And he said to me, James, a football club without your history, you're nothing. And that's what we need to learn. Without our history, we are nothing. We are coming up to a 20-year anniversary of not having won the Premier League. We had a barren spell between 53 and 71. That's 18 years. 71 and 89, also 18 years. But in the modern day, with so much investment for Arsenal Football Club not to be champions, people used to take the mickey out of Liverpool. 30 years.
Yeah.
Well, we're 2/3 of the way there. I can remember saying we're halfway there, and now we're 2/3 of the way there. And the fact remains with Liverpool, they're a bigger football club than what we are. They've won more in Europe than we could ever dream of, because they took European football seriously. If you look at, Liverpool and Manchester United are both bigger than Arsenal, but that's 9 European Cups between the 2 of them. We've got 1 final and 1 semi-final to rub together in 25 years of participation. And it just doesn't stack up. It really doesn't.
James, one of the topics that we spoke about on the show last night was Mikel Arteta. They've given him a lot of money, a lot of investment, almost £700 million. And in a short time, they've given him £208 million. Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, and of course, Jurrien Timber. But I think, or the overall view last night was that, listen, they've given him that amount of money. He's got them back into the Champions League. We're probably back as how it was with Arsene Wenger. Just secure top 4. Top 4 gives us so much, money, generates a lot of money. That's all you need to do, Mikel Arteta. Don't do anything beyond that. Don't do anything less than that. Just secure top 4 for us this season and next season, and Bob's your uncle. Can you?
I don't think we'll get top 4 this year.
Oh, right. Okay.
I don't think we'll get top 4 this year. I really do think, and the more I think about it, the more I think it's going to happen. We'll get past Porto. We'll get absolutely whipped by Real Sociedad, and I mean whipped. I think I'll be watching. Well, I would love to be at both legs should that come to fruition.
Yeah.
But I'll move heaven and earth to get to the home leg in particular. But with the away leg, I think I might be watching it behind the sofa. They are an amazing football side, really. To go through a Champions League group against the beaten finalists and champions of Italy, Inter Milan, and beaten finalists last year, the reigning champions of Portugal, who barely lost a game, and the Austrian champions, and to top that group conceding only 2 goals. It's under the radar to the point where it's disrespectful to them, and people also have to remember that since 2002, they would only choose players from the region that they're based in San Sebastian, in the Basque Country. It's only since 2002 they relinquished that rule. So they've made massive strides within that time. But and all this, the Porto game, it's going to be so close. It really is. And every day that passes, it's getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner till when the day kicks off, it will be literally 50-50. And
James,
I just cannot believe that I've seen so much European football since I've been an Arsenal fan. 33 European games alone. That's without the domestic. And I haven't seen my team win a European trophy since I was 10. That's 30 years ago this year.
I know we're going to be talking about the next 6 games for Arsenal, James, but when you look at the draw that we are in for, and again, the legs will be played not in January, but in February.
And in March.
Looking at where we are in the Premier League and comparing the run we have to have in the Champions League, if you had to put your money on which one do you think Arsenal are more likely to win?
Of the two competitions?
Of the two competitions.
Oof. I don't know. I would say Champions League because I think we'll fall away in the league.
Right.
I think we'll fall away. I think, should we not get beat by Porto, should we not get through, that's the season finished. That's the season's. That will just be such a hammer blow. It will dictate the remainder of the season. And I know you've predicted that Porto will go through our expense. Yeah. I'm sticking to my original prediction because I'm nothing but consistent. I'm predicting 1-1 in Porto and a 2-1 win for Arsenal in London, and then a quarter-final date with Real Sociedad, which Arsenal fans now, they will shout from the rooftops, yeah, free pass, semi-finals, and we're going to get whipped because they don't appear to understand how strong this team is. They are just so strong. And I'll tell you what, if Arsenal don't win the Champions League, I am at Real Sociedad all the way. The name translates to Royal Society.
Yeah. It's
in a beautiful place. It's one of arguably the most beautiful place in the whole of Spain. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. To take a walk from the city centre to the Anoeta, it's a joy. It's an absolute joy. And the history with the Spanish aristocracy and the famous film festival, it's a hell of a place. And I just hope that we avoid them because they're going to send us packing.
James, over the last, I say actually 14 days, again, I see a pattern of comments, of course, aimed at me because I'm like the main host on Cannon Fodder TV. And one of the criticisms that I receive is, who are you to criticize? Who are you to tell Mikel Arteta what he needs to do? It's so easy for you to say because you're not the manager. Right? Who are you to say he needs to drop this player, or he needs to play that player, or he needs to buy this player, or these players? So the question to you, James, if you were Mikel Arteta, what would you do to come closer to winning the Premier League or the Champions League?
Resign. and yeah, all right, okay. I gave you an honest answer. I would resign. And I would go and learn my trade. I would go to Spain and I would start from the beginning because he's literally been given a free pass. And as for the person to say, who are you? On this particular Cannon Fodder, you have 2 Arsenal fans who have in excess of over 70 years supporting the club. 70 years. You think how long that is? Yeah. I've been supporting them for 35 years. You've been supporting them since the 70s. So even longer than 70 years. But I just wanted to give an example. So we're match-going fans. We've been there before. We've seen it. Yeah. Particularly with European football. I'm always on the European shows. Why? Because I've seen it. It's not just taking an interest in European football since I was a child. It's attending European games on a regular basis for nearly a quarter of a century. and going without domestic games to get to the European ones. I think I'm touching almost 70 games from Amsterdam, so not from North London, although I hail from Hampstead. I'm touching 70 games from Amsterdam in the last 12 seasons, a third of which have been European games, because I've always prioritised the European games, because I love it. Because there will come a time where Arsenal won't be in Europe anymore, and nobody can take my memories away from me. We live in a time where it's all about stats. Everything is condensed to stats, and I just want to pick them up and put them in a bin. Because what you're doing is you're marginalising creativity. I mean, you imagine we spoke about Christmas and New Year. You imagine someone saying, "Well, okay, well, my brother-in-law's only been, like, hypothetically, my brother-in-law's only been to Christmas 3 of the last 6 years, so that's a 50% present rate at Christmases, 64.2% present rate, giving to receive." 14% taking down the Christmas tree, 28% hanging the chocolates on the tree. And honestly, it just baffles. When you read football books now, you can identify how old the author is. That never used to be the case. I'm reading a wonderful book by David Proudlove called When the Circus Leaves Town, about the gentrification of football stadiums and what happens afterwards. Fantastic anecdotes about Stoke City, Sunderland, Hull City, Middlesbrough. Brilliant. And I'm an Arsenal fan, but I want to know everything. I want to know as much as I can. And there's a wonderful stat. I mean, everybody watches us, but any Sunderland fans watching, I read yesterday that Sunderland, in their former home of Roker Park, played 1,800 football matches. Do you know how many upon which they were unbeaten?
More than half.
Unbeaten. So if they played 1,800 matches at Roker Park, they were unbeaten in 1,445 of them. That's some record, isn't it?
Oh my goodness!
That is some record. That is some record. It really is, and also the gentrification, about how cities move on, how the north has always been somewhat detached. I mean, we're gonna touch on it with Arsenal's latest campaign. He makes a great point about the politics of it all, where the powers are taken away from local councils. I work for a local council, which is coincidentally one of the best cities in the world. But I always say that you've got certain cities, you've got to cherish them. You really have. And I just thought it was an amazing stat. So any Sunderland fans watching, obviously we all know about the 73 Cup win, and Arsenal's expense in the semi-final, I might add. And I think we were 1-0 up in that game. And they went on to win the cup against Leeds with that amazing save from Jim Montgomery, who was almost dropped in the third round. In the third round, he almost dropped to Clanger, and that story would have been bin and gone. But for any Sunderland fans watching, it's not just 73 that you're known for. That record at Roker Park is just nothing short of incredible.
That's phenomenal. Right, so I'll pass on your thoughts about Mick Arteta just needs to leave the job.
I would resign, but again, to follow on, Alex, in whatever industry, nobody starts at the top. However talented you might be, nobody starts at the top. If you're a talented Google computer programmer, you don't start at Google. If you're a greengrocer, you don't go starting at Tesco, do you? You have to learn. You have to learn your trade. But again, I think it's a societal problem where people want to run before they can walk. I'll go on record now and say I left school at 16 due to a family situation. At the age of 37, I received a permanent contract by the Amsterdam City Council. So not Bedfordshire County Council, Amsterdam City Council. And I was told by my school teachers, you won't need your foreign languages. Oh no, 20 21 years later, I receive a permanent contract by the Amsterdam City Council, which is notoriously difficult to get in. But it's respecting the journey. If I'd have worked for the City Council when I first arrived in this country almost 18 years ago, it would have been too much. But now it's not too much because you've got so much experience. And that's what I'm talking about. It's the experience of in the case of Mikel Arteta, reading a game of football. Being able to read, being able to anticipate, being able to understand. And if you make those mistakes lower down the chain, they help you at the top end. And that's something that he's not been able to understand.
Yeah. James, you will look at the next 6 games that Arsenal will be having to face. So the next 6 games, let me remove this out of the way. So as James alluded to, the fact that we're going to be playing against Liverpool in the 3rd round on Sunday. I know Mo Salah has gone off now to the African Cup of Nations, but is that going to make much difference?
I would more out of fear of another trophy going by the wayside. I would take a replay now. If someone says to me, you get a replay, I'll say, where do I sign? Because if we get knocked out on Sunday, not just because of the run we're on of being of losing our last 2 and winless in the last 3, but if we go out on Sunday, it will just be. Do you remember 2007 season where we got knocked out of all the cups in a short space of time?
Yeah.
I worried that Sunday would turn into 2007 a little bit. And I just think that it's so important to win something. But then you've got people going, oh, don't worry about the League Cup. We can blood the youngsters. Haven't won the League Cup since 1993, and we've lost 6 finals. Liverpool have won that cup, I think, 9 times.
Oh, my goodness.
They don't use it to blood their academy, do they? And they're in another semi-final against Fulham. They don't use it to blood their academy or, give the youngsters a run out, but we did. So you want to throw. So there's 4 trophies available every year if you're playing European football, and you want to throw one of them. Just where you go, chuck it in the rubbish bin. We've only won it twice, and lost 6 finals, and that's just started for 10. And the FA Cup, obviously, we've won it 14 times, and lost a fair few finals and semi-finals as well. But it's so important to win a trophy this year. It really, really is.
James, didn't George Graham win the League Cup?
He did, 87.
Yeah.
And we was 1-0 down. And we turned it around. And then in 88, we spoke about Luton, and the indicator was very happy when I mentioned Brian Steen and Winterburn missing the penalty to go 3-1 up. But no, he missed it. Good save by Andy Dibble, mind, who played for Manchester City. And well done to Luton. But we won it in 87, and that was the start of almost invincibles in 91. And George Graham as well. Just unreal, really. Different times, but my formative years as a Gooner, and special memories that nobody can take away from me.
Yeah, and then after that, we play against Crystal Palace. Seemed a little bit rejuvenated under Roy Hodgson, who has actually said that it's going to be his last season in management. Yeah. How you see that one, James?
Well, first and foremost, with Roy Hodgson, I believe he won't get the credit he deserves until the man retires, and which is sad, really, because he's been a real pioneer. He's actually gone abroad. Bobby Robson went abroad. Bob Houghton before Roy Hodgson went abroad as well. The courage that it takes. I mean, he had a perfect qualifying campaign with England, a perfect 10 out of 10. When was the last time that happened? But it was all forgotten about because we lost to Iceland, who knocked out the Netherlands, Turkey, and the Czech Republic in the qualifying. So people have very short memories, and we've struggled with London derbies this year. Chelsea, Fulham, twice, Tottenham. There's no guarantee, is there?
No,
And Crystal
no.
Palace, their fans are brilliant. I remember their first season up in the Premier League, and we played them at the Emirates and beat them 2-0. And their fans were absolutely amazing. One of the best sets of away fans of a particular game that I've ever seen. This was, I think, February 2014, and they were brilliant. And I remember them singing at the top of their voices, CPFC, CPFC, and I just thought it was brilliant. Great fans, Palace, really good.
Right, because my time is actually quite short on this live show. It was actually James who kind of sent me a message about this kit here, no more red, and it kind of blew my top. Again, the fact that the fan base again just walking blindfoldedly, and I know they're going to go out and buy this kit again, which has been relaunched again, James.
Well, a couple of things I wanted to say. They claim the shirt isn't for sale, but a commemorative shirt of £30
yeah,
is. First and foremost, we are not Leeds United. We do not play in white. We are not Real Madrid. We do not play in white. We used to play in white in the 30s, and then Nottingham Forest loaned us shirts that were red.
that's right.
And
That's right.
therein comes the red and white of Arsenal. We are one of many London clubs. We're not the only London club. And I don't understand this activism. Yes, knife crime in London needs to be tackled. But why not have every single London club pulling their weight or doing something? But we are talking about a world city. We're not talking about North London. And we originally hail from South London in Plumstead, in Woolwich. If we hadn't have moved, we would still be South London. If we hadn't have moved, our nearest rivals would be Charlton. But all this virtue signalling, we cannot mean everything for everyone. We are a football club that has won 47 major honours. And if we concentrated a bit more on football rather than virtue signalling, campaigning and marketing, we might actually crack on. But first and foremost, the knife crime as well, it's a London problem. It's not a North London problem. North, south, east, west. I was born in Hampstead. You've lived in London for many, many years. The face of the city changing. The face of the city changing. The money coming in from outside, where people who are from South London or East London or North London, West has always been the most expensive area. That's been clear for years. But I can imagine that when young men or young people see these things, they get jealous or they get upset. But they need to be told and guided by their parents as well that everybody has to start somewhere. Everybody has to start somewhere. You don't start at the top. I started in England in a distribution centre of WH Smith. I was 17. I would work overtime to pay for my Champions League ticket. I started in Amsterdam at the bottom for an archive company, being caked in dust every day of the week, surrounded by insurance papers and breast cancer x-rays. But it was my apprenticeship. But what happens now with a younger youth, it's the social media and scrolling on your phone. Read a book. Put the phone away and read a book. There must be someone out there that, oh, I like fashion, oh, I like film, oh, I like football. Well, read a book about those subjects. And when you finish one book, you start on another one. And you start on another one and another one and another one. And then you're not confronted with the stuff on social media, algorithms and people having to do the most awful things. I mean, in terms of crime, one thing I find shocking, the most despicable crimes are being perpetrated by younger and younger defendants and younger perpetrators. You know, so a 16-year-old a 16-year-old boy is stabbed in Primrose Hill on a New Year's altercation. Apparently, the perpetrator was 18 years old. 18 years old. So you've just become an adult and you've decided to take somebody's life. And I'm against violence of any kind. But it used to be when you had a punch up, you had a punch up. And if you lost, you lost. Now what happens? They'll come back with a knife, or they'll come back with a gun, because they don't want to lose face. But in the grand scheme of things, Alex, nobody cares. Nobody cares if you lose face or if you don't. You're one of 9 million in the case of London. You are one of 9 million people. So whether you lose face or not, who cares? And then you've got gang warfare and things like that. And I just remember my mother being with me extremely strict, where times were different. The level of trust was massive. My mother let me go to Birmingham for Villa Park away as a 17-and-a-half-year-old. She let me go to Amsterdam for Ajax away as a 19-year-old. I don't know many mothers that would do that now, but my mother trusted me, and that's what it's all about. And I just cannot understand with Arsenal. We're trying to be too much to too many people. We're trying to include everybody in our net. That's not good. Yes, everybody is welcome. Yes, we are a welcoming club, but there is no need to virtue signal and try to include every single one. We are one football club based in London. We're not the only one, and this should be a London. It should be a London initiative, not just from Arsenal.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Sacrificing your colours as well. And just one final point as well, Alex. Sacrificing your colours. So the first thing you do is sacrifice your colours. I think that's the last thing you should do, isn't it? I think that's the last thing. But we're prepared to give away the family china and to give away our principles at the drop of a hat. We never used to be like that. We never, as a club, we never used to be like that. But we've become like that. And I just hope that when the reign of Kroenke is over, that there's someone who understands Arsenal Football Club and brings us back to our former glory. And I'm not just talking about on the pitch successes. I'm talking about what Arsenal used to do. Arsenal used to be a tremendous vehicle for inner city relations, race relations, immigration, everything. But we never had to talk about it. But that's what we were, because everybody stuck together. Immigrant backgrounds, regardless of background, regardless of race, everybody stuck together as Arsenal fans. That's the way we used to be. Where on earth did we go wrong?
You know what, James? We've come to an end on the show. Unfortunately, my time has been limited. There's been a couple of comments in the live chat I can only read. There's no time to actually respond to them. But we've got Terry Hogan, who's coming to the live chat. Who was on the show last night. He says, at last, a podcast that has gravitas, the general melee of a current society, and its direction of travel is very worrying. Yes, it is, Tel. Tel and I, we've both worked in schools. There's a couple more comments that I don't have time to read, unfortunately, James. All I can say, James, is, again, it's been a joy to listen to your overtones. And I'd like to probably visit this theme and topic, definitely in the future. But James,
absolutely, we can branch out.
Yeah,
maybe go all the way to Whitehall. Who knows?
There's one more for Terry. He says, the Hillwoods understood the role of Arsenal in society. Yes, they did.
And the local community.
Yeah.
And the local community as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is it. James, thank you for your time. I've got to go off and do some other bits and pieces to do with the family, society, family. James, thanks again. We will have you back very, very soon, talking about Arsenal. Not only about Arsenal, of course, we talk about other theme and topics. But for me, one of the best podcasts that we did was about learning another language, James. Absolutely great stuff.
We'll speak maybe ahead of the Porto game as well.
Absolutely. Until then, this has been Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans all over